And welcome to Take Time. I am your host, Patrick Marlett, and let's talk about Haveston watch straps. So I heard about this company through a couple of subscribers to the show, and I decided to reach out to Haveston. They were very prompt about responding to me and working on a little collaboration here on the channel. They sent me two straps that are a part of their field set, I believe is what they call it. The M1936 and the Invasion strap. Both straps are extremely well made and extremely handsome, and I cannot wait to talk about them. But as you guys know, I like to start with the bad and then move on to the good before giving you my final thoughts. What I'm holding in front of me today is the M1936 NATO strap, and every one of their straps is inspired off of a military aesthetic, and this actually draws its own inspiration from the US Army. The different tones of khaki and olive drab that make the weave of this strap are heavily inspired off of early 30s, 40s military uniform aesthetic. Both the M1936 and Invasion strap will come at either a 20 millimeter lug width or a 22. The length is always set to 270 millimeters, and the thickness of a single piece of strap is roughly 1.5 millimeters thick. On their website, they state that this is suitable for wrist circumferences of about 145 millimeters to 225 millimeters, otherwise 6 to 8.5 inches in diameter. The material used in the construction of the strap is a heavy weave polyamide. I don't know what that is, but it sounds awesome, and I can say it is extremely durable. And the hardware on this particular piece is sand, or rather bead blasted, but you can also get polished hardware instead. Now, I actually have a couple images I took when I received the straps. I think their packaging is amongst the best I've ever received from an accessory brand, a watch accessory group. I have some images I'll throw up on the screen now, but it came with a personalized letter that was really sweet. I don't know if this is something that's sent out with every single pair of straps, but they're kind enough to send me this letter as well as, instructional on the back, my name at the top left there. But let me go ahead and put some of the packaging in front of the camera now so we can take a look at that before I get into my review. As you can tell from those images, the two straps came in a nice brown parchment paper wrapping with a rope tied around it just to keep it all in there. It was extremely charming to say the least, but also one of the nicer presentations. I love when a company has a theme and sticks with the theme throughout the entire process. On the wrist is one thing, but getting it in the mail, you really feel like you're having a total experience, and that is very cool. Not a lot of companies do that, so thank you, Haveston. And I actually like the literature on the outside of this personalized letter and instruction pamphlet. You'll see there that they show you how to put the watch head on your new strap. And of course, remember, it's ideal to seal. And they let you know right off the bat that the nylon used here, if it frays like a lot of nylon straps do, it's totally cool to take a lighter to it and burn away those frays. It's not a bad thing to do, and I like how they recommend it here. And to finish off the packaging presentation, I kept the Invasion strap in this mint box tin to show you just how cool it all is. I think they did an awesome job with the packaging as a whole. There's some information on the strap that's inside, but why don't we just get to that? Now, when you open this up, you'll normally find your strap inside of another piece of parchment paper wrapped neatly inside with a hang tag on it. And the strap itself, obviously. So this is the Invasion. As I mentioned, I got this as part of the field set, but you can always buy these individually as well. And it's lovely. I got the polished hardware on here. And so you guys know I did not put this on the wrist. It was not an intention of ours when we did this collaboration to do a giveaway, but I'm thinking I might make this a giveaway item. I've enjoyed my experience with the M1936 so much that I'd like to share that with you guys. So I'm gonna put this back in the tin and leave it off to the side for now. Now, so you guys know, these straps individually cost about $29. I believe the market value on their website is $28.55. If you buy them as a set, I think they come in at $51.55 instead. So you'll shave off a little bit of money if you buy them as a set. If you want to diversify the look of your watch head on a different, very high quality NATO, this is a cool way to do it. All right, with all of the packaging business out of the way, and again, A+ on the packaging, Haveston, you guys are doing an awesome thing here. Let's talk about the strap. So I have this strap on, of course, a little Seiko railroad approved watch, and I think it's actually a really good aesthetic for it. And I've actually had this strap on 3 different watch heads up to this point, and it's ultimately resided on this watch rather, because I thought it looked best here. And starting with the bad notes, the floating keeper is a little different than ones you'll commonly see. The floating keeper here is actually on the keeper closest the watch head, and this is good and or bad, but it definitely changes the dynamic of how the strap will wear on your wrist. And of course, I'll go ahead and show you that with a wrist shot. But one of the other bad notes I'd like to mention is that the length is just a tad too short for my 7¼ inch wrist, a tad too short to my liking. I would have liked if they added a longer option. Again, I would spend a little bit more money to get the longer option provided, but such is not the case. Also, when I received this strap, it came with a few frays. You can't tell because I took my Zippo to it and they're all gone, so it looks brand new, as they say. It's funny because I thought the irony of getting the little letter that said, be sure to take a match to it, and then of course having to do so immediately afterwards was funny. But it's absolutely true. It's not going to damage the strap. Expect more frays in the future. I wasn't expecting to see the minor frays I saw here, but again, it's not a deal breaker. It wasn't a huge issue. The other strap is perfectly intact. So the only other bad note I can really think to mention here is perhaps the thickness of the strap. 1.5 millimeters thick is pretty thick, and if you're putting this on a tool watch, well, it's that watch is likely already thick itself. Or if you're putting it on a Seiko cocktail time, as we know, that watch is already really thick. So maybe not the best complement to every tool watch if you don't like your watch to sit too far off the wrist. However, I found that with a lot of the thinner watches in my collection, this watch worked so well. And even with my Omega Dynamic, which is still pretty thick, it looks fantastic. That's about it for the bad notes. Yeah, guys, this thing is really, really nice. It is extremely well made. There's a slew of good notes that I'm going to go over in just a second, but all the literature on their website talking about how the weave is heavy woven and made to last is very much true. It feels extremely resilient. It holds its shape very well. And the way they've redesigned these straps, the classic NATO, makes it very, very wearable. Excuse me. And the first good note I want to mention is actually the last bad note I made. 1.5 millimeters thick is thick, and it's essentially adding 3 millimeters to the bottom of your watch before it meets your wrist. And as you can see here, even with that heavy shadowing, excuse me for the lighting there. There we go. You can see it looks almost as thick as the watch it's on, but something I mentioned off the top of this video, I love a good theme. I love it when a restaurant has a good theme to their establishment and their menu. I like it when a game has a good theme, a board or card game has a theme that plays into the dynamic of the game. And I love it when a company, accessory brand, or a watch brand has a theme for their item. Haveston is making a sturdier NATO strap. They are making the end-all be-all military style strap. And I think a heavy-duty, thick nylon strap just makes sense thematically. And it really works. There's a lot of companies doing the thin strap option now because that is a definite thing. People, myself included, usually prefer a thinner strap. But Haveston has a great hold on the market for thicker, durable, resilient, well-themed straps. Just look at their catalog. I mean, you have things like the Invasion again, 1936, this strap in front of me, the fact that it's marketed as the field set, and as well as everything else in their collection. They know what they're doing, and I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I believe the first strap on their shop is called the Fortress, and then there's another one called the Carrier. Again, all clearly inspired and all well within an awesome theme. I really like what they're doing. So 1.5 millimeters thick, it makes sense with how they're marketing their straps, and I actually really like it on a majority of the watches I've put this strap on. The next good note I want to mention is the screen-filling number of perforations on this strap. I love it. I love holy straps. I love straps that have a bunch of holes in them and are spaced very well. And these are spaced extremely well. There is little space between them. They're sealed perfectly well. there is a whole host of sizing options for you as a consumer, and that's awesome. Thank you, Haveston. Thank you for jumping onto this trend of making well-fitting straps. Excuse me. This is well-made too. It's very well-fitting and well-made. Moving over to the head section of this strap, you can see that from where the stitching is to the keeper here holding that top strap down, there's a lot of space for you to put on a much larger watch. And mind you, this is only 43 millimeters from lug to lug end here, but you can fit a much bigger watch on here comfortably, and it should look good and hopefully not hit the lugs of your strap. And these will naturally curve down anyways when you put it on your wrist, but there's plenty of space there to put on a much larger watch. I think the hardware is also done very well on this watch. The bead blasting finish is impeccable. It looks so good on this piece, and I like the little signature here, nothing to distract you from the overall aesthetic of this strap. And the keepers themselves are very solid and resilient, and I've not seen this style of keeper on any other strap. These are slightly more rounded on the corners. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about. And I've had a lot of different NATOs and accessories, and I can kind of tell where people source their hardware. These look different from a majority of the straps I've seen, so it's nice to see that they're using hardware materials and hardware options that are a little different from the competition. And the buckle itself has a nice curve to it, so it wears very well on the wrist as well when it is resting on your wrist. And the last thing I'd like to note about the hardware is that this actually uses a spring bar system to hold the buckle into place, and you can kind of see it there. So if you wanted to remove this buckle and put on a buckle that is more appropriate for your Seiko, is more appropriate for whatever you're wearing, you can do that. That is an option. So I'm sure the next big question that's weighing on everyone's mind is, how does this actually look on the wrist? So why don't I give you guys a wrist shot so you can see it. So here's what the strap and your watch are going to look like for all of your admirers. And when you're going to admire it, it's going to look a little something like this. And as you can see, it provides a very, very cool aesthetic for your watch. And that thickness isn't too much of a burden on a thinner watch such as this one. So the watch isn't raised too far off my wrist, so not such a bad thing. And what I want to mention while this watch is on my wrist is something that they talk a lot about on their website, and that is the ergonomics of this strap. So they claim to have re-engineered the traditional form factor of a strap, a NATO strap that is, to have the buckle and head polar opposite one another. But not only that, to have a more ovaline shape of strap by where the keepers are placed and how the strap just fits in general. And I'll say that it is ergonomically very nice. I don't know if it's the only brand that offers this kind of comfort in a NATO, but it is very comfortable. And I've had other straps that have the buckle sit neatly at the opposite end of my wrist and have had an ovaline impression on my wrist. But I'm going to go ahead and take this off of my wrist to show you more of what they were talking about. And here we are with the watch off of my wrist, and you can see that oval impression that the strap leaves. It sounds a little gimmicky, but this strap does wear well on the wrist. You remember how I said this strap wasn't long enough for my wrist? Well, this is what I mean here. You can see the natural indent of where I've been folding this over, and it's rated to fit an 8.5-inch wrist. So mind you, I don't know how much strap they'll have left to actually fold under these keepers, but the one saving grace to the M1936's design is the floating keeper being nearest the watch head, and I'll show you why. So when you go to fold this under on your wrist, the practicality of having this be the floating keeper allows you to just cinch that end of the strap down so that it's not waggling away in the wind whilst on your wrist. And it provides a really clean aesthetic overall when doing so. So props to them for coming up with the idea of this keeper, this secondary one rather, being the floater. I like this design overall. It works with the shorter length. I think shorter length straps should always have this as the floating keeper because it just makes these straps wear better. All in all, this is one of the more aesthetically pleasing straps I've ever received from a brand, and I'm fortunate enough to receive a couple different nylon and rubber options. And this is one of the groups that's really blown me away overall with not only the build quality, but the fact that they followed a very strict theme with their build and design. I love seeing that with groups. I wish more groups worked on a thematic level as well. Not just providing a good product, but providing you an experience beyond just wearing a good product. And I like that Haveston did that here. Do I wish that the strap was longer? Yes. But as it stands with the way these keepers work, I really enjoy this on the wrist. I think they did a phenomenal job here. And I'm going to give them props where props is due. I really do like this strap. And that's why it's sort of living on this watch. And this is sort of my daily wearer when I'm not feeling like thinking about what's on my wrist. I mean, this thing has not lost a second since the day I got it, which was right around the same time I received these straps, a little over a month ago. And both of them have served me really well, I'm happy to say. I thoroughly enjoy the weaving of this strap, the thicker ends and the mix of khaki and olive drab coloration. And they've got a whole host of really great themed straps, as well as just colorations within those themes. They're doing a really smart thing, and they definitely deserve to be checked out. So I'm going to leave a link to their website in the description so you can view some of their items yourself, but definitely check them out. At any rate, guys, that is my review of the Haveston NATO. If you own one, and I know a bunch of you must, because there are a bunch of people recommending not only Haveston, but Toxic. And we're going to talk about Toxic hopefully in a future video. I have not put in an order for any, but we'll see if I can get any in hand. Way off topic. Guys, if you have a Haveston strap, let me know your thoughts on not only the customer service, but your overall thoughts on the strap. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Whatever that is in the comment section down below. And if you like this video, hit the like button. It looks a little something like this. If you have friends, forums, or groups that love to indulge in watch content and wear their watches on a regular basis with a variety of accessories, maybe send this video to them so they have an idea of what Haveston has to offer. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, which is a smaller majority of you now, which is awesome, more than 50% of you are subscribers, thank you for watching. If you're not a part of the family yet, maybe join in. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and thank you for the time.